Well, hey there, my lovelies. Hi there, my Instagrammers, and hello there to you, my Facebookers. I'm Donna Hoffman. It's so good to be here with you. They call me the interior design advocate and also one of the country's leading interior design coaches because I help design lovers like you, design enthusiasts, to put an end to, I'm not live, I'm live over here. I'm live. I'm getting people are talking to me, telling me I'm not live, but I see stuff happening. Not live on Instagram. People are waving to me on Instagram. People are talking to me. Okay. They're not saying the right things. Sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, it's so good to be here with you, lovelies. So I'm Donna Hoffman. They call me the interior design advocate, also one of the country's leading interior design coaches because I help my girlfriends like you, design enthusiasts, to kick the design disappointment to the curb, get rid of that ugly room, stop the design madness, stop Pinteresting yourself to death, stop housing yourself to death. Just get your brain into good, phenomenal strategy. And that's what we teach in our online courses. And I also run a luxury interior design company here in the Philadelphia region of the United States. And every Tuesday, we love to, holy cow, I'm getting a phone call. I'm going to turn that off. It's just all getting crazy. Every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, we like to put a pin in whatever it is that we're doing here. And we come out and we talk to you to teach a lesson, to help you to create more beauty in your life. So I get a lot of questions about today's topic, and it is open concept. And I have to tell you, you guys are brilliant. You are too smart and too talented to be even remotely confused by open concept, but I get it. You find it a little daunting. And as I've said before, builders love it, design consumers love it, so open concept is not going away. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love for you to tell me in the comments section, and Insta, you'll have to just type it in as well, and Steve will get it over to me. I'd love to know, what do you find most confounding with open concept? What part of open concept design makes your knees knock? Whether you're building a new home right now, or whether you just moved, or whether you already live in a home that has open concept. So what I want to do while you're typing that in, I want to talk to you about the 3 big confusion points and error spots that I see brilliant design lovers like you falling into. So one of them is a biggie, and it has to do with not even just open concept, but it definitely compromises your success in open concept, and it is this: completely underestimating and or ignoring space planning. I've got to tell you, I know it's not the sexy part of decorating. I know it's not the part that gets you excited. You want to pick out color and fabric and furniture and blah, 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 blah. However, your space plan stage, whether you draw them by hand or whether you do it online, a free program like Icovia, a paid program like Minutes Matter Design Studio, doesn't matter. But getting things down on paper first, particularly in open concept, will show you what will and will not work. Because believe it or not, it's not just about what sizes will and won't work, but when you really understand the strategy behind space planning, which is 2D, right? It's 2-dimensional, flat. You're just looking down from the ceiling down at your floor plan. But when you really understand the strategy behind space planning, what starts to happen is you start to walk into the space 3-dimensionally as you're working 2-dimensionally on a computer or with a pen and paper, or graph paper and pencil. You start to see your space 3-dimensionally, which is important. It's how I actually begin the part of the creative on any design project. Without that space plan at the ready, you cannot see ahead to see where the problems are going to be, what your workarounds are. In open concept, which corner is your problem? And usually it's not an outside corner, it's an inside corner, a corner that leads to something else that can sometimes be your tripping point in open concept. When you look at it on paper, you will see what can and cannot happen. And the thing you need to know too about open concept is that just because a builder has given you a diagonal line, for example, a lot of builders in open concept will give you a diagonal cut on your kitchen cabinetry, on your kitchen island or kitchen peninsula. It's a great way to push square footage to feel bigger, right? But here's the thing, just because your builder gave you that doesn't mean that you have to then align your furniture into that diagonal. And I see brilliant women, talented women like you starting to do these odd, non-optimal diagonal arrangements of your furniture where you're putting your sofas onto a diagonal pitch. Sometimes it's appropriate, but very often it's not. In fact, diagonally placed furniture usually works best in really big, oversized kinds of spaces. And if that's not what you're working with, I would really encourage you to think twice about doing that kind of diagonal thing. I get it. You might also have a diagonally placed fireplace, but even there, you don't have to have your furniture in a parallel to that fireplace, even if you have a TV over that fireplace, which chances are you do. The bottom line is get it on paper first. Work out the kinks and the problems first. See what fits and what doesn't, and map it in your brain as you see it on paper. Walk into it so you can see what flows, what does, and what doesn't work, okay? I cannot even stress it enough to you, the importance of a space plan. I'm putting together, I've got a great workshop that I've been working on, and in it I'm for a conference that we're doing, a live conference in Philadelphia, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later. And we're talking about key pillars of design and hacks around the common mistakes. And when I'm teaching about space planning, there's quite a bit going on in this one workshop on space planning. I show before pictures, and I show examples that even with the best furniture, the most beautiful furniture, if the space plan stinks, I don't care how beautiful everything is around it, it's not going to look good or feel good. Your space plan has to do with how your space feels, but also how it looks and how it functions. It's that powerful. It's that kind of triple threat kind of piece in design. So when I see people in open concept, which is a little more complicated than contained spaces, when I see you ignoring space planning, I think, uh-oh, here we go. The wheels are about to come off the wagon, or whatever that expression is. Wheels are coming off something. So that's one issue. Another place where I'm getting a lot of hearts and smileys on that one. So another place where I see you guys tripping up and getting into trouble on your open concept spaces has to do with color and pattern moving through that space well. Now, if you know how to map out color and pattern, if you even do pattern, color, pattern, texture, I'll just kind of put that in the basket. If you know how to do that well in a contained space, it's a snap to do it in open concept. Truly, because you're going to consider your open concept one large room or space that is then divided into a few zones, a dining room zone, a kitchen zone, a living / great room zone. Just that's the only difference, right? It's one big space. The difference being that with open concept, you stand in one area and your eye scans and sees everything. In contained spaces, 3 or 4 walls, 2 or 3 walls, your eye sweeps that one space, right? Well, with open concept, it's not that much different. If you understand and know how to take a color palette and that may also contain pattern and, of course, texture as well. If you know how to roll that into an adjoining foyer or an adjoining living room or an adjoining dining room, doing that through an open concept won't be a problem for you. But if you're struggling with that, that tells me as a design coach, there are some basic, pardon me, there are some basic skills and strategy understandings that are really lost on you, there's not a foundation that I'd love for you to have. So it's not that you're struggling with open concept, it's that you're struggling with the strategy of moving color and pattern and even line through a space. So if you can do it in contained space, you can do it in open concept, all righty? And then before I get to my last point, let me see what you're finding confining, or confounding, I should say. Okay, so let's see. People are saying hello. It's great to see you. Da 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 da. Lots of hellos. Okay, so Jamie is saying open concept issue number 1. I guess Jamie has more than one issue. Open concept number 1 is lighting. Floor lamps and tabletop lamps that are not directly against the wall, and you don't want the electrical cord laying across the floor. That's a good one, Jamie. We'll come back to that one. Ruth is saying that scale is also tricky. Ruth, if you understand scale in contained space, you'll understand it in open concept, but I'll come back to that as well. So I'm going to make some notes. I want to come back to scale and I want to come back to floated lighting. Okay, let's see what else. Nancy is saying that my question is that when an open concept, I'm concerned about the lights over the dining table clashing with the lights over the kitchen island. Is there a rule I need to follow? Okay, so that's another good one. I'll try to come back to that one too. So we'll just call that lighting cohesiveness, okay? And then, okay, Wendy's saying that's her problem too, okay. Jamie is also saying that furniture can be, she doesn't want furniture to be matchy-matchy. I'm so happy you're saying that, Jamie. Jamie's one of my students, rock star. Brilliant that you don't want it to be matchy-matchy. I like it. That's how you'll get a higher end look, Jamie. But you do want it to be cohesive. Yes, absolutely correct. Getting hellos from more people. Okay, so if you want to offer to me and the group, what do you find most confounding or confusing in open concept decorating in your home? Throw that comment in there, and later on I'll take specific questions. Before I wrap to some of the questions that you guys have put in, I do want to tell you about the last area that I see a lot of balls being dropped on open concept, and it has to do with window treatments being disjointed, or there being a lack of cohesion. When you design in a contained space, let's say you have a center hall colonial. I work in the Philadelphia region of the US. That's where our company is based. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of center hall colonial architecture here. But so you can picture what center hall colonial is, right? You know, living room on one side, dining room on the other side. And so if you are walking toward the front door and you're looking at the dining room and you're looking at the living room, you see both of those windows in your eye line. You see them both in both of those rooms, which means that the pattern, color, texture, and design style, of course, the pattern, texture, line, shape of them have to be, they have to be happily sitting next to one another, because as you walk toward the front door, you're grazing both of those visually, right? There has to be agreement. Or let's say the same fictitious center hall colonial we're in, we walk from the front door toward the back of the home, and there's a kitchen and probably an open great room, right? If it's a home built in the last 20, 22 years. So as your eye scans from the kitchen into the great room, there has to be some cohesion in what those window treatments are doing. And I know that a concern for a lot of you, and I get this question all the time, what do you do with different kinds of windows in the same space? What do you do with different kinds of windows on the same wall? What do you do with windows that are different heights in these spaces as well? And that's a big topic and something I'll be drilling into in a great free workshop I'm going to be offering in a couple of weeks. I'll give you information on that when I have that to release to you. But what I'll say to you right now, that when it comes to open concept, just as I talked about with color moving through the space, the window treatments in open concept do not need to be the same. Don't need to be the same fabric, but they need to be in conversation with one another. You can do panels in one area, Romans in another, no problem. You don't have to do panels everywhere or balances everywhere. That's not an issue. But you have to connect it all through either color or pattern, so that if you have, I'm making this up, a patterned, let's say you've got a patterned valance in your kitchen over this kitchen sink window, maybe a minor color in that pattern becomes the solid, or the solid / textured something in the adjoining great room. So there's marriage and cohesion, but it's not matchy, okay? But window treatments like lighting, and you guys are asking great questions about lighting and open concept. Window treatments and lighting are probably two of the big bugaboos that will date a space, but also big elements that when they are off, they will absolutely corrupt a space and bring the beauty straight down. So for me, when I look at my peeps before they've studied with me, when open concept is going off the rails, I see that space planning was mishandled, color pattern not worked out well and moving through the space well, and the window treatments were definitely kind of falling through the cracks. So I encourage you, if you have more to share with me about what do you find confusing, Instagram, you can feel free to add that as well, to add to the conversation, because right now Facebook is out conversing you. Not that I'm putting any pressure on you, but feel free to just type into me and let me know, what do you find most confounding and confusing when it comes to open concept. And A couple of you already wrote in some great questions. So one of the questions had to do with scale, and I forget who asked that, so that you find scale of furniture. Let me see. Okay, Ruth said that scale of furniture and open concept can be confusing. So Ruth, here's the thing, 2-minute answer. And I'm teaching a whole workshop at this upcoming conference on how to mix furniture together, furniture styles and so forth. But anyway, short answer for you, Ruth, that is an open concept. Your furniture scale needs to be relative to two things: relative to each other, right? If you have a big beefy sofa, you can't have a little teeny weeny little chair next to it, right? You need to have furniture that has scale that's relative to the thing it's next to or near. But also the scale has to work for the size of the room and or the architecture. So furniture needs to be in alignment with the scale of other furniture around it, as well as the scale of the architecture. So if you have a high ceilinged room, you can have taller furniture, taller backed, sofas. The only place where I start to caution you against that is if you're walking into a space and you're abutting right into the back of a sofa, you might say, you know what, I don't want that sofa to be so high, but I'll take the height up on some accent chairs. So I want you to, with your space plan, Ruth, I want you to walk into that open concept space and consider, what is the eye seeing as it walks into this space and it grazes from left to right. That's what your eye does in the Western world when it looks at a space. Just moves left to right, and it's looking for order. It's looking for cohesion. It's looking for some sort of steady rhythm, because it's a comfort, right? So what are you giving the eye to latch onto? And proportion and scale will be part of that as well. So hopefully, Ruth, I answered you on that. And if you have a more specific question, feel free to send in a follow-up. And I'm still inviting comments if you would just want to tell me what you find confounding and confusing about designing an open concept. I'm surprised nobody has mentioned rugs yet. That's usually a common one that I get. But anyway, so I had a question about lighting in open concept. Oh, what happens when you want lighting next to a sofa, on a sidearm table, or next to a chair, and you don't want the cords running around? You should never have the cords running exposed on the floor. Never, ever, 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 ever. Designers don't ever do that. There's a simple fix. We bury the electric into the floor. It can mean cutting your rug. Some of you may not like that, but we do it. We slash expensive rugs, and we run electric right underneath. You can either run the electric right underneath the table where the lamp is going to be sitting, but what I like to do, and I think it's a better tip, I will bury the electric underneath a sofa cushion. So if I have a 3-seat sofa, I will bury the electric, let's say on the right-sided cushion at the extreme right of this is my sofa, the extreme right of the sofa. Table is here with a lamp on it, right? Electric is buried here. This way, when the lamp is plugged in and the cord goes down, I just wrap it right underneath the sofa, so you're not seeing it under the table, because remember, tables have these exposed legs and so forth, so you'll seal that cord. So that's really what we do. You might think, oh my gosh, really, you cut expensive rugs? We do. And if a family moves, we can always bring in a piece or sewer to repair the very careful slit that was made in that rug to accommodate the electric. So that's how we handle it in the luxury interior design world. So I hope that helps you. And then somebody else had a question about lighting, that you don't want your light fixtures in the dining table to clash with the light fixtures in the kitchen. Is there a rule you need to follow? Yes, Nancy, but it's the same strategic rule that you would use in your kitchen, making sure that your dining table light is in conversation with your the lighting over your island. We don't want matching. I would love to see you not go to a catalog in a lighting store or online to an online retailer and just pick out the suite of matching stuff. That's definitely more of a builder move than a high-end look, and I want you to have that beautiful high-end look. So really the best way to handle that is to think about the line or shape. When I say line, I don't mean the manufacturing line, I mean the shape of something, right? I want you to think about the lines of let's say your dining fixture. And if your dining fixture is very curvy and a lot of froof, then you might want to go kind of curvy and froof in your your light fixtures. And if your dining table is very linear and simple, maybe that's, you know, use those lines to guide you over your over in your kitchen. So you're talking about dining area and kitchen. Maybe those are two separate areas in your open concept, maybe more of a dining room and a kitchen that opens to it. And what I would say to you there is you can start, the further apart the fixtures are from one another, you can start to diverge a little bit more in terms of what will, the lines and the shapes. You can go curvy in one area and a little more simple and rectilinear somewhere else. And you can marry things with the finish. So you might say, okay, the 80% of my finishes in my light fixtures in my open concept, so the kitchen and the great room, they're going to be dark. They're going to be, I don't know, an oil rub bronze. But in the dining room, which opens, you know, maybe it has columns that separates it, you know, I'm going to do something else there, and I'm going to get kind of crystal with bronze, or I'm going to go into something that's a little bit more like a burnished gold. So 80% of your fixtures finishes are doing one thing, and then the other 20% are doing something else. So does it get more complicated than that? Yes. Do designers get a little more intricate and detailed? Yeah. But hopefully that little hack strategy will help you and guide you. So to follow that 80-20 rule, that Pareto's law rule, whatever, still works in just about anything and everything that you can think of. So hopefully that helps you. So I'm going to see if there are any other questions or people are leaving me more comments. Jamie's saying, oh Lord, window treatments not being cohesive. Our last redesign, we lived in a circus tent for 10 years. Oh, Jamie, you cracked me up. Well, circus tents, that's not a good way to go. All right, I'm being told I have time for 2 more questions here because we have an appointment to get to. Cohesion on lighting. Mary asked about that as well. I think hopefully we answered that. Paula's saying she doesn't have open concept. Good, so you don't have to worry about that, Paula, but I appreciate your being here with us. Kim Kane is saying that she does have open concept. Linda's saying, is it okay to have a star of the show in every space? The kitchen, the dining room, the living room, all having different wow factors. Yeah, yeah, if that's your design fingerprint, Linda, you really like when things move forward, by all means do it. But just make sure they're not arguing with one another in open concept, because again, the eye sweeps everything. So, and Linda, I happen to know you're one of my students, so you can always post pictures in our private group for me to be able to weigh in. And then I know there's an Insta question coming. My handy dandy assistant is telling me. So Lori is saying, so basically the 70-30-10 rule applies even in the open concept. Yes. Definitely. 70-30-10 or 80-20 absolutely applies in open concept. Guys, open concept, it's like it's designing your home, somebody's removed all the walls. But if you had cohesive spaces, one that and adjoining spaces, just because your living room adjoins in a non-open concept home, which somebody just mentioned that she doesn't have an open concept home. In a non-open concept home, let's say your living room opens to your foyer, but your living room doesn't open to your family room, which is at the back of the house. If you really want to do it well, and if you want to do it the way a $250, $300 an hour interior designer would do it, what happens in the living room doesn't stay in the living room. What happens in the living room finds seeds that move into the back of the house, or the back of your home, even if it's not open to a room at the front of your home, whether it's a townhouse, an apartment, a detached house. Rolling a single color palette that continues to move and change through your rooms, it happens in adjoining spaces, contained spaces throughout the first floor. It's just that in open concept, you're removing those walls, but you're still looking to have color palettes from zone to zone. Remember, in open concept, we call them zones instead of rooms. There's a kitchen zone and a dining zone and a living room or great room zone. You might also have a dining room zone in addition to a kitchen table in a kitchen zone. And so the color palettes are rolling through those zones. It's just you don't have walls. It's a lot simpler than people, my students sometimes, and my peeps, my design divas sometimes think it is. Okay, here we go. Here's an area rug question about open concept. I was waiting for this. Okay. This is coming from Instagram. This is from Eddie8. She's saying, Ezzy8, I'm sorry. Been married to the man for 27 years. Is it 27 years?
Still can't read my writing.
We still don't know. So we think it's 27 years, and I still can't read his writing. Anyway, he's saying, as he says, I'm going crazy with my area rugs. My living and dining room are one in the same space. Living room has a fireplace, sofa faces the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. No one knows how the rugs should go. Ezzy, you got to space plan it, and make sure that you have optimal space. I don't know how tight your plan is, right, Ezzy? So you have got to draw it out so you know what size rugs you need, and you may need to go with custom size rugs, and don't worry about that, because I think I've talked about this with you guys before. I know I have with my students in private groups. You go to a rug store, you find a rug rolled carpet that you like, you tell them, hey, I need this to be, 4 foot by 6 3/4 feet. You can go away from a standard 6 by 9 size and just have them bind the edges. So I would find what size rug you must have in your dining room first, because that's going to be driving. You need to make sure, as it needs to make sure that you have enough space around your table, right? You want at least 2 feet around from the table back to the edge of that rug so the chairs can pull back. And then you'll see how much space you have in your living room. And Ezzy, I don't think you're one of my students. If you were, you could send us post pictures in the private groups. We don't take pictures on our public page. It just is not enough. I don't have enough brain power and enough bandwidth. There are, thousands of you guys and just one little old me, and then my team also, my tiny but mighty team. So this is something I would need to be able to see a picture of to be able to weigh in more specifically, but hopefully that quick note will help you. Okay, one more question here before we wrap out. Hold the phone. Oh, Tina Martin saying, please talk about rugs. It's hard not to match. So Tina, here's the story. Anyone who understands the strategy in mixing patterns in fabric, rugs are an easy peasy thing as well. It's the same strategy. I have a course called Decorating Genius, and I teach in that course how to build a pattern story in a room or an open concept. The rugs are part of that. It's not just window coverings, pillows, and I don't know, any patterned fabric you put onto a chair. The rugs count as part of that. So if you know how to do that, rugs are a snap. And if you don't, I would say to you that whether it's with me or someone, some coach, some teacher somewhere, you need some design education in how to mix pattern. It has to do with manipulating the different scales that you have, meaning the sizes of those patterns, and also what's happening with colors and textures within that. That's kind of a quick lesson, but I really need some images on to be able to share with you on screen to be able to show you that in greater detail. But mixing your rugs, getting rugs to move through a space, an open concept, I get that question a lot. How do I not have the same rug repeating itself, but I want to make sure the patterns of these rugs are working well together? So very, very common. I just want to let you guys know what we're talking about next week, as I'm going to take one more question, so I'll let you input some more things. Next week, we're talking about a goodie. Back to school. Kids are going back to school, so we're going to celebrate with a really good Facebook Live. We're talking about how to update a dated space. How to update a dated space is our topic next week. When the kids are back to school, you guys may show up with a mojito in hand and wearing a feather boa with the kids back in school. No judgment here if you do. And I also want to let you know that there is a great conference happening in September. We've got a great special on tickets right now. If you buy the first ticket, the second ticket is available at $150. It is the Design Diva Conference. It is happening in Philadelphia, September 28 and 29. Oh my gosh, there's going to be design masterminding. There's going to be, people are going to be bringing, samples and swatches of things that you're working on in your home, pictures of things you're working on, whether you're just facelifting a space, whether you're redoing a couple of spaces, moving into a new home. We've got people flying in, attendees flying in from all over the country. This is a first ever design conference just for design lovers like you, and we are so excited to be doing it. It's a day-and-a-half conference. Some of our attendees are staying at the hotel where it's happening. Some are doing Airbnbs and bringing a sister, a buddy, a significant other. So we're excited to see you, and we hope you'll be joining us as well. For more information on that, you can head to our website, theinteriordesignadvocate.com, and go to the events page. It's also a great conference for new designers, if you've been in the industry for under 3 to 4 years. Also great for stagers, okay, or for people thinking they may want to get into the industry. The information is that good. But I'm going to meet you exactly where you are and take you on an amazing journey. I think it's some of the best teaching that I've ever done and that we've done here at our company. So I'm excited about all the workshops that we're having, and also the guest panel that we're having of designers. So anyway, one more question. I'll take that from you. Let's see. Okay. So Bev is saying, in open concept, there are so few walls, so I only have a small wall. I only have a small wall and then perpendicular space over the fireplace. Art, mirrors, I find it difficult. Yes, I have to tell you something, Bev. We just finished designing a fairly large residence, and it's open concept. And finding spaces for art was not easy. That is something you give up in open concept. We had to do things in bedrooms and in home offices, and over fireplace, it was either TV or art, in a significant area in the great room. It just is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. That is the trade-off in open concept. So what I can say to you is try to do things that are artful and beautiful in your open concept space. Maybe it's a question of a really beautiful, interesting fabric on a chair instead of going with a solid. Maybe you're going to do something that's a little more attention-getting, or on an ottoman. You can always look at a piece of interesting tabletop sculpture to go on a cocktail table or on an end table. I wouldn't do sculpture everywhere. I wouldn't do a statue of David in the corner, but you have to find other ways to bring in art. And it's hard when people downsize into open concept because they bump up against exactly what you're talking about. Oh my gosh, I don't have wall space the way I used to in contained space living. What do I do with all this artwork? Find it a new home, reframe it, and put it into a guest room or one of your contained spaces in your open concept home, and try to reinvent it that way. All righty. Okay, my lovelies, posted for you a great blog post. If you've missed it, take a look at it. It has to do with window coverings, since window treatments is part of what gets people all snafu'd and bugabooed in open concept. Next week, we're talking about how to update a dated space. And I look forward to seeing you. I love spending time with you every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and I will see you next week. And until then, big hug. Bye, everybody.